Hey everyone, this is Dan Messias, and in this video I'm gonna show you all the data maps in the new SimCity and how to put them to good use. These graphical representations of statistics replace the graphs from previous SimCities and give you all the information about the condition of your city as colorful overlays to your city view. Every map has its own benefits, and you're gonna see some of them all through your playthrough, while others only might be necessary in certain situations. The maps are split up in 7 categories: population, zoning, utilities, public institutions, danger in the air, traffic, and specializations. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. The population map will seem very complex at first, but it can give you a great summary of what your Sims are doing right at the moment. As they are sent out of the buildings as agents with a certain purpose, you can watch in this overlay what their current definition is, as they are assigned a certain color. If they go at the little houses to shop, they will be dark blue. If they're going to or are at work, they will be represented as light blue. When they finally get home, they will become a part of the green bar. With this map you can see very quick where all your people are at the moment and what they are doing there. So during work time you will have a lot of light blue on your lot, and as 5 o'clock comes around, those same people will go out and become blue shoppers, or they drive home to fill your homes and thus become a part of the green bars in your residential neighborhoods. With this overlay you can analyze, for instance, if all your workers live on the one side of the map at night just to work in the other part of the town in the day. So you might want to react to those shifts by zoning differently or build public transportations to avoid traffic problems. You also see in one glance in what neighborhoods your population rises and where the smaller vicinities are, to make new zones or ploppable buildings according to their knowledge. The happiness map shows how content your agent-bearing buildings are. This is vital if you want to expand your city and adjust your services and taxes. If the buildings are green, you're doing everything right, and at some point those places will not only be fully moved in, but will want to use their great space more effectively. When the buildings are red to yellow, there's something wrong. Normally this means that your services to pollution or taxes aren't in proportion to that building's standards. Maybe their garbage doesn't get picked up, or the wind brings the pollution of your coal power plant to that neighborhood. If you want to keep these buildings from getting abandoned, you need to find a problem and react to those needs. Wealthier Sims will have higher standards and are harder to please, while a low-wealth commercial zone won't need much other than some customers to stay happy. If you keep your place happy long enough, it will want to get bigger and more densely populated. That's what the building density map wants to show you. That little house in the center of your city that benefits from all your city services and makes everyone who lives there smile all day long will be transformed into a bigger apartment building if the road in front of it supports that building density. If you can get that green bar high enough on a building put at a high density road, you will at some point see a skyscraper going up. But a denser populated place has more needs, more demands. All the hundreds of people living in those houses aren't satisfied with just fresh air and clean water. They will want jobs, public services, working traffic, and so on. If you can't offer all those things, people won't put up with living in a shoebox, and the building will either stay small, or, if it has already been expanded before you started to angry all the residents, will get abandoned. Based on this map you should level up your streets. If you find a road with a bunch of light blue houses and some dark green bars on it, you want to upgrade that street and let the buildings be rebuilt denser, taller, and much more populated. With the residential map, you can keep track of the development of your residential zones. The 2 different color bars on each building show the amount of happiness in green and money in yellow the Sims in these housing units have. High wealth mansions will show the big amount of money that is possessed by the Sims that live in there, and it is obviously much harder to get the happiness bar to comparable levels in those buildings than in a low wealth trailer where money is sparse, and providing a level of happiness that surpasses their demands, influenced by their financial balance, is much easier. The commercial map shows you what type of customer the Sims in your city are, that are currently looking for a commercial stroll. They are either shoppers in blue or tourists in orange. The blue shoppers are residents of your cities or commuters mainly buying everyday goods, while tourists come from abroad and are looking for souvenirs. The commercial buildings are colored in the respective tone of the customers. Light blue shows you the amount of money that is made by the business at the moment. You'll have to keep in mind that if this statistic gets too low for all too long, it means that this shop might go out of business because it obviously has too few customers. How the produced freight and the subsequent payments for them go through your city you can see on the industrial map. The light blue bars again show money that is earned and spent over time. The smaller the bar, the poorer the business. But every time the yellow shipment has left the industry for delivering new goods, it will come back in light blue to bring back a payment. The land value map is one of the most important overlays in the game. The visualization of the local desirability exhibits the possibility for different land value zones. The bluer the ground gets, the higher the land value, which consequently will lead to wealthier citizens and shops. If the ground stays red to white, your buildings will stay low wealth, and in the case of the reddish tone, probably always stay small density too, if you don't do anything about the quality of this neighborhood. Most of your commercial and residential buildings are white, because they don't influence their surroundings all too much. But most of the industrial buildings, abandoned or burned down houses, sewage plants, and other premises that you would consider annoying in your neighborhood have a negative influence on the land value. Things like public institutions that ensure health, education and security, parks, entertainment options, or even your mayor's house have a positive influence on the land value and will make the adjacent properties more desirable and thus expensive. Obviously this will be a preferable goal a bunch of times, but because you need low wealth employees too to keep your industries and institutions going, you will still need some cheaper spots on the map to get an appropriate place for the less expensive apartment buildings. So which land value you are targeting is very dependent on your goals for the city you play in. The industrial tech map displays the intellectual development of your industries. Right from the beginning of your city you can build industry, but it won't be very smart. You'll need to work towards the education of your Sims to get more cultivated factories. As soon as you have some people with a college diploma, high-tech industries start to replace your heavier polluting places. But keep in mind that high-tech industries are, like the wealthier workers, more demanding than the lower wealth counterparts. Crime, for instance, is no problem for the low-tech industries, while the sophisticated factories will lag it as soon as some criminals stroll around. What buildings receive electricity you see on the power map. The yellow buildings are powered, while the red ones are powerless. Darkened houses don't need electricity right now. If you open the menu to build power plants, you can see how electricity has to go under the streets, through the grid, to each and every building to light it up. The bigger the circle the middle of the house is, the more power it consumes. So a stadium has a huge circle that needs more time to be filled up, while a trailer has a tiny one that clicks on very fast. The water table map displays the occurrences of water on your side. The darker blue spots are filled with groundwater, while the lighter spots are drier. So you want to build your water plants on those darker blue spots. The groundwater depletes, but they should get replenished by nearby riversides or everywhere when it rains. The brownish regions have polluted groundwater, so you don't want to put your water plants there, or your Sims will get sick of the water. Within the menu to build water-themed buildings, you see what houses get water through the pipes under your streets in the same way power gets distributed. The sewage map displays what buildings have built up sewage. The darker the brownish tone, the more waste is in your buildings, to the point where they are shown red when they virtually spill over from the build-up dirt. With the sewage building menu, you get a look at the units of sewage passing under your streets. With an outflow pipe or a treatment plant, you can see them swim towards the sudden end. How much garbage needs to be picked up shows your waste disposal map. From light brown over dark brown to red, you see how much normal trash sits in front of your buildings wanting to be picked up. A neighborhood with all high red bars is for some reason not serviced by your garbage trucks. Green bars stand for the amount of recycled materials that are waiting to be fetched. The fire risk map shows you how dangerous buildings are regarding catching fire. The bright red buildings are likelier to ignite than the white buildings. You also see what buildings were frying before and if they were either saved or burned down to a certain point. On the health map you can watch the level of sickness in your city. The most striking feature of this overlay is the germ level. From white to red, buildings show how likely they are to give your Sims that go there an illness. What ailments your Sims have is represented by their color. Pink bars, cars or persons stand for injured Sims, while orange smiley faces or elements are given to sick people. The yellow bar on your hospital shows how many patients are getting treated. Red versus blue. That's what the crime map is all about. All the red rings on your map stand for criminals and their influence, while blue places are caught by the police. The blue police symbols try to get the red bandit faces and keep those red bars, depicting criminals inside of buildings, to a minimum. Also, you can see in this overlay what crimes have happened in your city. From smaller cases of shoplifting and tax evasion to arson, robbery and murder. Let's hope that highest red bar is inside of your jail. The education map shows you the level of education of each residential building. A white premise has to be interpreted as a community of lower educated Sims in comparison to the green buildings, where maybe each and every Sim living in it went to school. The green and purple bars stand for the enrolled or not enrolled students, respectively, inside each structure at the moment. You want to see as less purple as possible and the biggest possible green bars in your schools during daytime. Danger zone. The GERMS map is almost a summary of the causes of illnesses. You got air pollution, sewage problems, ground pollution, water pollution and garbage that can cause sickness to your Sims. The symbols show the existing polluters, and the degree of redness tells you in a concentrated fashion which buildings are bad regarding your Sim's health. To get more on the details, you can look at the air pollution map. The brownish areas are affected by air pollution, mostly by the beige buildings that are producing decent amounts of pollution displayed by the red bar. The exact same thing goes for the ground pollution map. Brown areas are deeply compromised by pollution coming from the beige buildings with the highest red bars. Most times this is sewage plants of some sort. If you don't want to spread the pollution all over to your residential zones, watch the wind map at the start of your game to see the wind direction. You want to have all your polluting buildings downwind so they affect as few other neighborhoods as possible. This is how the radiation map should look like. There's no sign of radioactivity, not even around a nuclear plant. But send uneducated workers in, and a little mishap in the way of a meltdown brings radiation to a big part of your city, which will decrease the land value massively and make your Sims ill. When your map is red, just bounce. Nobody will voluntarily live in your modern Chernobyl for the next 48,000 years. On your bus map you can see the amount of people waiting for this method of transportation to arrive, where your stops are situated and where your buses really are at the moment. The same goes for the streetcars. You see the people raising the bar at each and every station until the streetcar finally comes, picks up those people and consequently lowers the bar. You also see the lines that your streetcars are driving on. You can see how your people get picked up at a train station on the train map. Trains are great for intercity travel, so when the bar showing how many people wait for trains are getting too high, build more stations and connections to your region. The boat map shows you how much people wait for the ferries and cruises going around your region. Ships are a great thing to have for your tourists and to pick up people from cities on the other side of a river. The coal map visualizes all deposits of, you guessed it right, coal in your city. Most of your map will appear in a light white greyish color that indicates no usable coal sources, but there might be some spots of darker grey or even black coralline that show you an extractable amount of coal that you can mine with a coal mine as soon as you put one down on it. You either use it as an energy source in a coal power plant, smelt it with ore to alloy, or sell it to your neighbors or on the global market. The same principle applies to the ore map that shows you in a brownish tone all occurrences of ore under your city. Put down an ore mine to extract the shiny metals and smelt them in a smelting factory to either alloy or usable metals that you can use in your industry to trade for money or to build a great work with. The coal and ore deposits will deplete over time, so you either have to be very cautious about your mining and resource storing, invest in recycling, or pray that SimCity is secretly located in Russia and mineral-bearing comets will fall down on your town. The oil map shows all reservoirs of usable oil in the ground of a city as greyish to black pools. The oil can be drilled for with an oil well and can be sold directly to your industry, neighbors or the global market. With an oil refinery, you process the resource into plastic or fuel, which you can trade in for a higher price than the crude oil or use it on a great work. Like the minerals, the oil deposits deplete and you're gonna reach peak oil at some point where you have dried your lot from its valuable heated and pressured dinosaur remains and will need to import your barrels from the rest of your region or the global market. So don't fill your bathtubs with the stuff, use it carefully as long as it lasts. A blue, yellow or green bar will show you already drilled and processed stored units of crude oil, plastic and fuel respectively. The trade map shows you all saved up resources in your city. The colors still respond to the map seen before, so you should see a pretty familiar statistic if you have checked your resources with the aforementioned maps. This map will come to good use in a situation of negative city balance, as it gives you a good overlook of your sellable materials that at this point are solid assets. In other words, looking at this map can save you from bankruptcy or can show you how to make a little extra green when you need it. To see people as a resource might seem cruel.
Silent green is people!
But the tourist map practically does exactly that. It shows you the tourist in your city either as the single self, as a car or as a part of a statistic bar when they're inside one of your buildings. From yellow over orange to purple, this overlay not only lets you see where your valuable tourists are, but also how wealthy they come. You should secure that as soon as your map gets overflown with these warm colors, that you get some blue in it too. Blue represents the hotels of your city and as a bar, the guests that stay at this particular place. You can either build hotels manually as an expansion of your casinos, or just let some commercial zones do that work for you. I hope this video gave you a little insight on the huge amount of different data that is processed at all times in your city. If you like getting better at SimCity, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, upvote it, share and comment. Thank you so much for watching, smell you all later.